Hey, hi, can you help me? What's your name? My name's Roosevelt Lee Roosevelt. Roosevelt, what town are you stationed in? I'm stationed in Poontang.
Good morning. Vietnam wasn't just another war comedy. It was a revolution in how Hollywood told stories about conflict, freedom, and laughter in chaos. Behind Robin Williams' explosive energy were secrets, improvisations, and emotional truths that even fans never knew. Fact 1.
Hey, guys! Guess who the hell I got in here?
Uh-oh, don't do this shit.
The film was based on a real U.S. Air Force DJ named Adrian Cronauer. He really did broadcast from Saigon during the Vietnam War, bringing rock music and humor to American troops. But the real Cronauer was far more disciplined than Robin Williams' version. He wasn't the wild rebel you see in the film. Cronauer himself said, "If I had done half the things Robin did, I'd still be in Leavenworth." Still, he loved the movie and embraced the artistic liberties. His original concept was much darker and more serious. The studio turned it into a vehicle for Williams' comedic brilliance. The result created one of cinema's most unforgettable performances. Reality inspired it. Imagination perfected it. But while Cronauer's story started it all, Robin Williams' raw energy is what made it legendary, and his performance was unlike anything Hollywood had ever seen. Fact 2.
Weather today, hot. Tonight, hot. Tomorrow, hot. Hey, guess what? Big surprise tomorrow night, hot.
Almost all of Robin Williams' on-air radio scenes were unscripted. Director Barry Levinson simply turned on the microphone and let Williams go. What you hear, the voices, the jokes, the chaos, was pure improvisation. Even the cast didn't know what he'd say next. Levinson said he filmed over 2 hours of Robin just riffing. None of it was written down. Editors had to cut his manic genius into usable takes. It was raw, fast, and unpredictable. Exactly like live radio. The crew often broke into laughter off camera. His energy became the heartbeat of the movie. Without those improvised scenes, the film would have lost its soul. It wasn't acting. It was lightning captured on film. But if his humor was spontaneous, his emotional scenes were just as powerful. Because behind the laughter, Williams carried something deeply personal. Fact 3.
It's going no big deal. Look, how loving can you feel when you got that moment when...
Robin Williams brought more than comedy to Good Morning Vietnam. He brought heartbreak. Off-screen, he was battling exhaustion and loneliness from fame. His ability to switch from manic laughter to deep sorrow wasn't just talent, it was truth. Director Barry Levinson said Robin could make you laugh in one breath and break your heart in the next. That emotional duality made his character feel real. Williams poured his own struggles into every quiet moment. The contrast between comedy and tragedy mirrored his life perfectly. It's one reason audiences connected so deeply. His pain became art, hidden behind the humor. Few actors have ever balanced those extremes so effortlessly. But if Robin's emotion anchored the film, the rest of the cast brought something equally powerful because many of them had never acted before. And that was exactly how Malick wanted it. Fact 4.
Aaron Cronauer?
You got it.
Welcome to Saigon, sir.
Many of the Vietnamese roles were played by real locals, not professional actors. Levinson wanted authenticity and raw emotion. Some had never even seen a film camera before. The result was an honesty that can't be faked. Their reactions to Williams' comedy were genuine. He improvised jokes that weren't translated until later, yet the laughter on set was real. The local cast helped ground the film in truth rather than Hollywood gloss. Their presence gave emotional depth to the story, especially in the friendship between Adrian and Tuan. It blurred the line between fiction and reality. Levinson said, "They weren't acting, they were remembering." That sincerity made the film's darker moments hit even harder. And while these locals brought realism, Robin's co-stars had to learn fast how to keep up with his wild unpredictability. Fact 5.
Okay, here we go.
Working with Robin Williams was thrilling but exhausting. He never stopped performing, on set, off set, even between takes. Co-stars said it was like being in the eye of a hurricane. Forest Whitaker, who played Private Garlic, said Robin would change his lines mid-scene without warning. The crew often ruined takes by laughing too hard, yet everyone knew they were watching magic. His energy kept the set alive, even on long shooting days in the sweltering heat. Whitaker said Robin could improvise better than most people could think. The cast loved him, but they were constantly trying to keep up. It was chaos, beautiful, hilarious chaos. But behind all that laughter, something serious was happening, because Good Morning Vietnam wasn't just a comedy, it was also a bold statement about truth and censorship during wartime. Fact 6.
Look, up there. Pull! Pull!
At its core, Good Morning Vietnam isn't just about laughter, it's about censorship. The film shows how the military controlled the news soldiers could hear. When Adrian Cronauer starts telling the truth on air, the system turns on him. It was a daring subject for a comedy in the 1980s. Levinson and Williams wanted to expose how war isn't just fought with weapons, but with information. Robin's improvised rants about hypocrisy and bureaucracy hit close to home. Some military advisors even worried it would offend veterans. But the honesty made the movie more powerful. It wasn't anti-soldier, it was anti-lies. The humor made the truth easier to swallow, but it still stung. That mix of comedy and courage was what made the film unforgettable. And while the script tackled heavy themes, the filming conditions were just as intense, because the crew was working in blistering Southeast Asian heat that nearly broke them. Fact 7.
Thank you. I think this fall the discerning GI is going to be wearing green in the jungle. Why? Because it matches with the green.
The movie was filmed entirely on location in Thailand, which doubled for Vietnam. Temperatures soared past 40 degrees Celsius, and humidity made it feel even worse. The crew constantly battled dehydration and heat exhaustion. Equipment overheated, props melted, and tempers flared. Robin Williams, drenched in sweat, kept everyone laughing through the misery. Locals joked that the heat was its own character in the movie. Insects swarmed every set. Still, the cast pushed through because they believed in the story. The oppressive weather gave the film an authenticity that studio shooting could never match. You can almost feel the sweat and exhaustion through the screen. The realism came with a price, but it made the film feel alive. And just when the heat seemed unbearable, the real emotional fire began, because one shocking twist turned the story from comedy into tragedy. Fact 8.
My brother, okay, friends. But Vietnam ladies, not friends.
Audiences went into Good Morning Vietnam expecting nonstop laughter, and then the tone changed. The bombing scene near the end shattered the humor completely. It reminded viewers that the backdrop wasn't just funny radio shows. It was a real war. Barry Levinson wanted to pull the rug out from under the audience. He said, "You laugh until you remember where you are." The explosion scene was staged using real pyrotechnics and local extras. The shift in tone caught everyone off guard. Even Robin Williams dropped his playful energy for quiet heartbreak. That emotional turn made the comedy meaningful. It showed the cost of trying to bring joy into hell. Few comedies have ever handled tragedy so gracefully. But if that scene shocked audiences, the editing process that shaped it was just as surprising, because it almost didn't make the final cut. Fact 9.
You can be a little thing. I saw it so damn hot. I saw one of those little guys in the orange robe burst into flames.
When the studio saw the first cut of Good Morning Vietnam, they panicked at how dark it became near the end. Executives feared audiences would reject the shift from comedy to grief. They begged Levinson to remove the bombing scene, but he refused. He believed the film needed that moment to earn its message. Without it, the story would have meant nothing. Robin Williams backed him completely. Together, they fought to keep it in. Eventually, the studio relented, and that decision made the movie iconic. The contrast between humor and horror became its legacy. It proved that laughter and pain could exist side by side. That courage paid off when critics finally saw the film, and what they said next would change Robin Williams' entire career. Fact 10. Good Morning Vietnam catapulted Robin Williams into a new league. Until then, he was known mostly as a wild comedian from Mork and Mindy, but his performance as Adrian Cronauer showed a new depth. Critics were stunned by his ability to balance comedy and heartbreak. He earned his very first Oscar nomination for Best Actor. It marked a turning point in his career, from funny man to serious artist. Williams said it was the first time he felt truly respected by Hollywood. The film proved he could make people laugh and cry in the same breath. It redefined what a comedy could be. The success opened doors to dramatic roles like Dead Poets Society and Good Will Hunting. But before those came, one moment on set revealed the heart of who Robin really was. A man who could make even the smallest crew member feel like a star. Fact 11.
Hey, baby, what's happening? Let's groove.
Hey, baby, what's happening? That's blue.
Behind all the chaos and comedy, Robin Williams was known for his kindness. He treated every crew member with respect, from camera operators to local assistants. Between takes, he'd tell jokes just to lift people's spirits. He bought food for extras and entertained children who visited the set. Forest Whitaker said Robin never acted like a star. He acted like a friend. His energy made the tough shoot feel lighter. Locals adored him, calling him Mr. Funny Heart. That warmth translated directly into his performance. You could feel the empathy behind every joke he told. He reminded everyone that laughter was an act of love, not ego. It's part of why his death years later hit fans so hard. His humor had always come from a place of compassion. And while Robin gave everything to the people around him, one particular co-star's presence gave the movie its soul, because their chemistry was real even off camera. Fact 12.
It's already started.
I understand.
Robin Williams and Forest Whitaker shared an instant connection the moment they met. Their characters, Adrian Cronauer and Private Garlic, had a mentor-student dynamic, but it grew into a real friendship off-set. Robin constantly encouraged Whitaker to improvise and take risks. Whitaker said it felt like learning from a jazz musician. The two actors developed natural rhythm in their scenes, bouncing off each other's timing without effort. Their laughter on screen wasn't scripted, it was genuine. Levinson often let the cameras roll just to capture their spontaneous moments. It gave the film its heartbeat. The friendship between the two became the emotional glue holding the story together. Whitaker later said that working with Robin changed how he approached acting forever. The connection between them transcended performance. And just as their friendship grounded the film, another real-life friendship inspired it, because the actual Adrian Cronauer had a fascinating relationship with the military that few people know about. Fact 13.
Silent night, holy night!
The real Adrian Cronauer had a complicated history with the Air Force. While he really did host a radio show in Saigon, he often clashed with his superiors. He wanted to play rock and roll and inject humor, but the military preferred safe, controlled broadcasts. His rebellious streak got him in trouble more than once. However, unlike in the movie, he wasn't kicked out. He finished his tour with honors. After returning to the U.S., he became a lawyer and remained proud of his service. When he saw Robin Williams' version, he laughed and said, "It wasn't me, but I wish it was." The movie made him a pop culture icon overnight. He spent years speaking about media freedom and the power of humor under pressure. The real Cronauer's approval gave the film credibility. But while he loved what the movie represented, not everyone in the military felt the same. And one review from a general nearly derailed the film's release. Fact 14.
Where are you from, Jimmy?
I'm also New York.
Oh, two boys joined together.
Before the movie's release, the Pentagon reviewed it carefully. Officials were nervous about its anti-establishment tone. Some worried it mocked the military too harshly. A few even wanted to block access to bases for filming. But Barry Levinson argued that the story celebrated the soldiers. It just questioned the system above them. Eventually, the Department of Defense refused to officially endorse the film, meaning no real military equipment could be used. That decision forced the production to recreate everything from scratch. Ironically, the restriction made the movie feel more authentic. It became grittier, smaller, and more human. The film's message, that truth matters more than propaganda, became even clearer. Critics later praised Levinson for refusing to compromise. It was risky, but it gave Good Morning Vietnam its edge. And while the Pentagon backed away, the public ran toward it, because when the movie premiered, audiences exploded with laughter and tears. Fact 15. When Good Morning Vietnam hit theaters in 1987, nobody expected it to become a global phenomenon. It opened to rave reviews and sold-out screenings. Critics called it the performance of a lifetime for Robin Williams. Audiences laughed, cried, and stood up to applaud at the end. The movie grossed over $120 million worldwide, an enormous hit for a film about a radio DJ. Soldiers and veterans sent letters thanking Williams for humanizing their experience. It became a rare movie that entertained and enlightened at once. The soundtrack, packed with 60s hits, climbed the charts. For months, people walked around shouting, "Good morning, Vietnam!" It became part of pop culture history. Robin Williams had done what few comedians ever achieved. He made the world laugh and think at the same time. But the legacy didn't end there, because the film's music carried its message long after the credits rolled. Fact 16. The soundtrack of Good Morning Vietnam became a cultural phenomenon on its own. Packed with 60s classics like What a Wonderful World and Nowhere to Run, it perfectly captured the contrast between chaos and hope. Barry Levinson used music as emotional armor, songs that soldiers clung to when words failed. Robin Williams' broadcasts made these tracks feel like lifelines in the jungle. The music reminded audiences that even in war, people still danced, laughed, and loved. The soundtrack went platinum and top charts worldwide. Decades later, it's still considered one of the greatest movie soundtracks of all time. Every song carries a double meaning, joy shadowed by tragedy. It turned the movie into a time capsule of emotion. Those songs became the heartbeat of a generation scarred by conflict. And while the music moved millions, the film's deeper message reached even further because it dared to show the cost of silencing the truth. Fact 17. At its heart, Good Morning Vietnam is a story about truth in a time of propaganda. Adrian Cronauer's struggle with censorship mirrored the real tension between soldiers and the system. Robin Williams played him as a man torn between duty and conscience. His on-air rants were about more than jokes. They were about freedom of speech. Levinson said, "The film isn't anti-war, it's anti-silence." That's what made it timeless. It spoke to anyone who's ever been told to shut up and obey. The humor disguised the message, but audiences felt it deeply. Even decades later, journalists cite the film as a symbol of courage. It turned comedy into protest. It showed that sometimes the loudest act of rebellion is laughter. But for Robin Williams, that courage came at a personal cost, because the more he made the world laugh, the harder it became for him to find peace inside himself. Fact 18. Behind the smile, Robin Williams carried heavy pain. Fame had made him one of the most recognizable faces on earth, but also one of the loneliest. He struggled with depression, addiction, and the pressure to always be funny. On set, he used humor as a shield. Laughter was how he stayed alive. Barry Levinson said Robin could light up a room and hide in the same moment. His performance in Good Morning Vietnam mirrored that duality perfectly. You can see the cracks between the jokes. That's what made it so human. Fans later said they rewatched the movie differently after his passing. Every laugh now carried a tear. His vulnerability became his legacy. He reminded the world that even the brightest souls fight their own wars. And as audiences mourned him, the film took on new meaning because its final message was always about connection through compassion. Fact 19. When Robin Williams passed away in 2014, the real Adrian Cronauer was heartbroken. He called Robin the best thing that ever happened to my story. Cronauer said the movie made him a symbol of free speech, something he never expected. He admired how Robin turned his life into something universal. After Robin's death, Cronauer spoke to veterans groups saying, "He gave laughter to people who needed it most. That's what mattered." He believed the movie's spirit lived on through everyone who found comfort in humor during pain. The two men were very different, yet forever linked by one story. Cronauer said he hoped Robin finally found peace. A year later, he passed away himself, leaving behind a legacy of laughter and truth. And though both men are gone, the world still echoes their voices, because their sign-off became one of cinema's most iconic lines. Fact 20. Good morning, Vietnam wasn't just a line, it became a symbol. Robin Williams turned it into a battle cry for freedom, laughter, and resilience. That single shout captured everything the film stood for: chaos, hope, rebellion, and heart. Soldiers repeated it on real radio stations. Fans yelled it at concerts and protests. Even decades later, it's recognized instantly worldwide. It's the sound of joy breaking through fear. Robin recorded multiple takes of it, each louder and wilder than the last. Levinson said, "When he screamed that line, you could feel the walls shake." It wasn't just a greeting. It was a declaration of life in the middle of war. That roar still echoes today, a reminder that humor can survive even in darkness. And if you thought you knew Good Morning Vietnam, these 20 stories prove that behind every laugh was a truth the world needed to hear.